Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Petro, the Vice President of Customer Success and Global Accounts for Ooyala. Happy to be here today to talk to you about how we're partnered with Zone TV and Microsoft in breaking new ground in AI.
I think you got it?
What?
Hit the space key, space bar.
Space bar.
There you go.
All right, so first a little bit about Ooyala, those of you who might not know us. We're an 11-year-old Silicon Valley company. We've got a global presence, offices around the world. I oversee a team that looks after our more than 300 customers. For those customers, we're delivering 220 million monthly video streams, and more importantly, we power millions of workflows every month for our customers. Here's a sample of some of the customers that we have. We handle a wide variety of use cases for customers in the video space. So companies such as ITV Studios leverages our ability to separate out metadata from video and models all of their productions. They're Europe's largest producer of content, video content. They model out all of the metadata for series and episodes, segments, shots, et cetera, and they can start populating that metadata as soon as they greenlight a project. As soon as they come up with an idea, they can start putting metadata into the system before a frame of video is even shot. And that metadata is then consistent throughout the entire life cycle, so that at the end of a production, they have very rich metadata about all of the content that went into it. Very different use case for Intel. We powered the distribution of all of the VR360 content and metadata to 27 international rights-holding broadcasters for the Pyeongchang Olympics. So there's a very complex distribution and multilingual metadata delivery of the 360 content to these broadcasters, and we powered all of that. TV2 in Denmark, we finished off their migration to a tapeless system for broadcast playout by handling the workflows around the advertisements they receive that go on air. So we're handling all of the workflow to put that into a purely digital workflow for them. And for any of you who might be Howard Stern fans, if you listened to Sirius this morning and to his show, you may have heard that they relaunched their website and apps yesterday for the first time, incorporating video from the Howard Stern show in the apps. And the workflows around all of that are powered by Ooyala. But we're here today to speak about one of our most innovative customers, which is Zone TV, and what we're doing with artificial intelligence partnered with Microsoft. And so to introduce Zone TV is their Chief Development Officer, Tom Sauer.
All right. Good morning. Am I live here? Everyone can hear? Okay. So Zone TV, first of all, I'm Tom Sauer. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Zone TV. I head up primarily our business development activities and our advertising initiatives within the company. Zone TV is really redefining the TV environment by delivering personalized entertainment services and experiences. We're really changing the way linear TV channels are created and delivered today. We use a combination of AI and human knowledge to curate channels. And then we use machine learning and rich metadata analytics to predict and create personalized experiences. And that's really the case study we're going to go through here this morning. We also provide maybe the largest collection of digital, made-for-digital content SVOD libraries. And everything that we'll talk about today is based around our tech platform that we also allow others to use to create their own curated and personalized channels. Today we serve about 38 million households with our current products across the US and Canada. Some of you may have heard of one of our flagship applications called Santa Tracker. It's been around for about 10 years now and launched on the majority of the service providers that you see up there. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the industry today. So really, there's this challenge out there, primarily for the TV providers, the TV operators. There's this huge swirl, as we all know. We've got new distributors. We've got direct-to-consumer content. Everybody and their dog is developing a new SVOD package and deploying that directly to consumers, whether it's mobile-based or whether it's on a connected TV device. We have a ton of original content that's showing up. New experiences are just proliferating out there. So what's happened is now the consumers went from no choice in their traditional MSO satellite TV experience now to a huge amount of experiences. And they've got to make those choices. Also, the TV world today, as we think about it, we believe needs a real overhaul. You think about what the current MSO satellite world out there, it's been unchanged for many, many years. The networks and the operators really control the experience. There's not a lot of personalization, maybe some personalization in the VOD catalog, but for the most part, it truly is a lean back and hope to DVR the right show at the right time so that you can go back and watch it. Of course, TV Everywhere solves some of that. Then we enter this the new TV world space, and these are really the OVPs and the virtual MVPDs out there. So we've got a lot of capabilities around recommendations, collaborative recommendations, better access to finding content, but we're still out there searching for content. And there's limited personalization. It's still either that somewhat lean back experience or it's paging through screens and screens trying to find exactly what you want to watch if it's not something that you DVR'd or captured. So we believe that there's a huge need out there today to move to what we call next-gen TV. So next-gen TV isn't a new platform. It's really about a new experience. It's about an experience that can transcend across these current platforms out there. And most importantly, we believe will revolutionize the old TV space. We'll talk about what we're doing with Ooyala, Microsoft, in the AI space to create an effortless experience. We're using AI to curate our channels, as I mentioned earlier. We will create a uniquely personalized experience. So if we think about the old TV, the new TV world and this next-gen TV world, the new TV world is really still at a recommendation-based system for discovering content and presenting what we call today personalized experiences, right? So the recommendations, it's the act of saying that something is good and deserves to be chosen. Now there's a lot of different algorithms out there today that are used to achieve this, right? Popularity type algorithms, recommending the most popular thing, identifying similar items, item-based type, so forth, collaborative filtering, predicting what a user might want based on a collection of preferences or tastes from a broader set of users. But now, so that all worked pretty well, and we all get reasonably good recommendations from the various sites that we use. But we need to move to the next level, that truly personalized experience. And we believe that in order to do that, we can take machine learning and we can couple that with recommendations, and we get what will ultimately be a uniquely personalized experience. So when we talk about machine learning-based capabilities that we're using today, there's a lot of data, as the last panel talked about. There's a ton of data out there, and you've got to figure out what data is relevant for these machine learning algorithms. And so we will use kind of four types of content, if you will, to bring into our machine learning algorithms. One is enhanced metadata, which we'll talk about here in a couple minutes. Signal inputs, these are things from social media, usage and analytics, and then human curation. And those, if we bring those pieces together into a very advanced machine learning system, we can actually easily create these personalized experiences. So what we'll do, and really we'll modernize what today we think of this old TV experience into this new personalized experience. Mike's going to take you through that Ooyala connector there, where we use Ooyala today for our CMS. We use the Microsoft Cognitive Services and specifically the video indexer to pull advanced metadata out. So Mike's going to take you through that piece, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about what Zone TV is doing today in our proprietary algorithms around creating these personalized experiences and how that manifests into what we call our dynamic channels.
Thanks, Tom. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about Ooyala's role in all of this. So we partnered with Zone TV and Microsoft to put together a solution, and Ooyala plays over so on the left side of the screen here. Zone's bringing in a wealth of content from a number of content providers, a sample of which you see some logos up on the screen there. As you may well imagine, that content comes in sort of in all shapes and sizes and forms with or without metadata, varying degrees and clarity around that metadata. And so the Ooyala Flex Media Platform is pulling that content in, normalizing the metadata so that it's useful for Zone in sort of their downstream processing and making certain that they're able to curate it properly. We're also then coordinating the workflows with Microsoft Video Indexer. And this is a powerful tool that Microsoft built as part of their Cognitive Services suite that analyzes video and brings back a tremendous amount of data about the video on a frame-by-frame basis. So we're talking about facial recognition, object identification, sentiment analysis, speech-to-text, just a wide range of information that's coming back in again, on a frame-by-frame, knowing exactly what's happening in the video at any given moment. And so there's probably too much information for Zone even to deal with. As the last panel talked about sort of this wealth of information. We want to bring it all in, and then Zone has decided, well, what are the things that are really important? What do we need to do? And we've modeled the metadata so that we can enhance the metadata that's coming in from the content providers and add in additional metadata that we're getting from the AI that Microsoft's providing, and then managing all that content, feeding it to Zone for their, and Tom will talk about some of their proprietary tools for further enhancement before it's delivered out in a personalized way to the end users. So if you think about what Ooyala does, we fit in the, basically in the middle of the entire content supply chain. So there's a number of discrete steps that content goes through from production all the way out to distribution. And historically, there's very siloed operations as content is being produced or when it's being moved from one space to another. For example, as the content is moved from those content providers to Ooyala Flex for Zone TV's use, a lot of metadata that they may have had access to is lost, and we might get a title and description if we're lucky. So as content producers are producing content and distributing content, Ooyala Flex can actually keep that metadata consistent as the videos are moving from a PAM to a MAM to a nonlinear editor all the way out to distribution and playback. And so we have our workflows are data-driven, and we're using them with Zone TV in a very specific way for both the ingestion of the original content and the curation and the management of it, as well as the enhancement of that content with the metadata that we're getting back from Microsoft. And so this is powered by the Ooyala Flex Media Platform. So at the core is metadata, workflows, and analytics. And that's the core of the Ooyala Flex Media Platform. As I mentioned earlier with the ITV use case, we separate out the metadata layer from the content itself, and we can keep that consistent throughout the entire production lifecycle. We have very powerful workflows that integrate with a number of, really anything that has an API, but whether it's broadcast equipment, transcoders, storage systems, playout, delivery, a number of systems, also including Microsoft Video Indexer for getting enhancements. Some of the enhancements can be Ooyala applications. So you see some of the Ooyala names there, like the Ooyala MAM, which is what we're using with Zone TV as the CMS that houses all of the content. Ooyala Adapt for transcoding, but if you wanted to use Zencoder or encoding.com or some other service, we can or you have your own telestream in-house, we can interact with both on-prem and cloud deployments to create a solution that's right. And in the case of Zone TV, Ooyala Flex is at the core. We're interacting with some of our own services, third-party services such as Video Indexer, as well as with Zone TV's in-house systems as well. The deployment model can be varied from our perspective. So Ooyala Flex Media Platform can be deployed on-premise. A lot of customers want either for security or for performance reasons. We might be interacting with some specific pieces of broadcast hardware in a studio, and so they want to deploy our software in their own data center or on their facility. We can deploy in the cloud, either customer's private cloud, or in the case with Zone TV, we're partnered with Microsoft and deployed in Azure. Or we can have a hybrid, and the model here kind of depicts if you had an on-prem deployment at the bottom and a cloud deployment at the top. Ooyala Flex Media Platform is coordinating all of that, so it's a seamless operation to anybody who's interacting with the system, whether they're interacting through systems that are touching it on-premise or whether they're coming in through a cloud-based application. And then again, the applications can be Ooyala's own, such as the Ooyala MAM and Ooyala Adapt. They can be third-party integrations, such as with Video Indexer, where it's a plugin. But we can also do a scripted integration using a Groovy script to interact with anything that has an API. So it really gives a very powerful tool set to customers to coordinate their operations, whether it's being content creation, curation, or distribution. So we'll talk a little bit about the metadata. So if you think about what might get from a content provider, we get a piece of content and we might know things like, oh, Chevy, red car. If we're lucky, maybe racing, maybe we don't even get that, right? So sometimes you get very scant metadata about a piece of content, and it would be very difficult for Zone TV to provide much of a personalized experience around this if you really only knew a couple of pieces of things about the content. So we're leveraging Video Indexer to get back a wealth of information. So if you take another piece of content, oops. Does this one build automatically, Tom?
It should.
There we go. So another piece of content, if you process it using Microsoft's Video Indexer AI, you're going to get back a number of pieces of information. Things around what it sees in the background, like a skylight, locations about where it might be. If this was processed, you might know from reading listening to the transcript. It's going to do speech to text to understand what's being said. It may know that this was actually around the New York Auto Show. It's going to identify people that are in there. Just a ton of information. But not everything you get is necessarily going to be correct. In fact, do we have any car buffs in the audience? Does anyone notice anything about this that's maybe not right? It's New York, people don't drive. So that's not a Ford Cobra, right? It's a GT. But that's the information that we got back, right? It came back telling us it's a Ford Cobra. So we don't have to just accept that, well, if it says it's a Cobra, I guess now it's a Cobra, and we move on. So we can build in workflows that allow for human curation and making sure that things are accurate. But with all of this information that's coming in, the Flex Media Platform has been designed. We can have a custom schema for each customer and determine, well, what information actually is important to Zone as they're going to use their proprietary algorithms and additional machine learning and AI to help curate these content. Do they really care that there's a backpack in the scene? Do they really care that we've identified crutches, right? What are the things that are coming back from the Video Indexer that are going to be valuable in determining whether or not a particular user might be interested in this piece of content or not? So we've modeled that with Zone, in partnership with Zone, and put together a metadata schema that they can then take the enhanced metadata, there's a combination of what the content providers provided us, which again may be very little or it might be robust, along with what we've learned from the Video Indexer tool to give them a rich set of metadata to process through their proprietary tools. And then the rest of it up to
proprietary tools. There you go. So one thing about one thing about Ooyala's Flex is that was really important to us is the ability to deal with a lot of unstructured metadata. So you have a ton. What we're dealing with is and what we want to deal with in our system is a lot of data, so we can figure out what's the right type of data. So they can manage that. The other thing is workflows, complex workflows. We probably have some of the more complex workflows today than most of their customers do, just because of what we're doing and what we're achieving, as you'll see from our personalized experience downstream. So once we get back all of this new metadata and the transcription of the audio to text, we feed that into our cognitive engine, the Zone TV cognitive engine. So we take the metadata in, we can filter out and determine what's appropriate metadata and what's not. We can take in signal input, so these are things that are trending from a social on the social media, Twitter, et cetera, things that are happening and that are relevant today, may be relevant in how we actually create a channel on the fly ultimately. We also, from that, we can basically filter and cluster that. We can then marry that up with the metadata, along with the feedback that we get from users who are actually viewing content. So as they view the content, we get those analytics back. We can score that content. All of those go into our machine learning algorithm that then helps us determine how we should program those channels moving forward. So it is a full feedback loop. Now, once that happens, let's say we take foodies as a category and we want to create a foodies channel, we can automatically create that channel by providing a few keywords. Maybe we want it based on baking and chocolate from a content curation perspective. So it will automatically create what we call a show stream, or that channel, based on that information. Now, the next step of that would be we need some human interaction. We need someone to look at what the machine has created to determine, hey, is it really relevant? Did we miss something in there? So we've built what we call Programming Studio. Programming Studio can actually start cold with a human just grabbing assets and creating a new channel, or it can start from a machine-created channel, which is typically the way we start building our new channels. So we now have a new channel. Our human curator can go in there and make changes to that. As they make changes to that channel, that will relearn of what's appropriate and what's not appropriate based on what we've described up front of what that channel should be. So the next time that channel, a similar channel gets created, in the automated sense, we have learned, and in theory, we'll do a better job from a machine perspective of generating that channel. Now, the coolest part of all of this is downstream, when a user is watching a channel, and let's say they're watching baking, chocolate, again, stick with the foodies here, they want to reprogram that channel. We give them the option to actually reprogram that channel based on the context of what they've been watching and what their preferences are. Click of the button on the remote, that channel reprograms and is presented as a completely new reprogrammed channel to them. Same thing, lean back experience, linear experience, but we've added that dynamic capability to it. So we've really taken what was just raw metadata, different tags, things that are trending, and we've turned that into really a way to present a personalized experience to the user. So the way we do that down at the user level is we've got something called show streams. So these are really the channels. And think of this could be a foodies channel, it could be a motors channel, a man cave channel. We've actually developed a number of those channels. Second thing we do is when you enter into a channel on the EPG, you're in a lean back mode. So if you're just a consumer that says, hey, I want to see foodies, boom, you lean back. Now you hit the up button on the remote, you get this little pop-up display there. Now I can navigate vertically through additional show streams. What we call show streams are channels within that channel. So I'm watching baking with chocolate. I arrow up, and now I'm watching a video on barbecuing, let's say, or a channel on barbecuing. I can then, what we call zonify, so this is reprogramming on the fly. I like what I'm watching. It deals with meat, barbecuing, etc. I zonify that. It reprograms that channel on the fly. Horizontally, we've gotten rid of the day part, so I can move now back and forth through that channel, left and right, without worrying about day part or when that particular asset has been scheduled. So now we've completely transformed a traditional linear, lean back, static experience into a dynamic channel experience. Now, the consumer is going to just automatically gravitate to this. No, we've got to teach them over time. They've got to understand the power of this. But we believe that this gives what those old TV guys and the MSOs, the satellite guys, we give them the ability to transform into a new space. We give the content providers a way to transform their content. We give the consumers a way to really experience a very personalized experience. So today, with Ooyala, we are processing about 8,000 hours of content, made for digital content. Represents about 70,000 assets in their system today. From that, that's generated from about 130 different content providers that we have under license now to ingest their content. And what we've done is we've developed 12 genre-based channels and then a personalized channel that basically learns on the fly and creates on the fly a personalized experience that the user can go into. And then a preview channel. So we've really taken this full circle from what was traditionally just, on-demand content of this endless searching to find into a very nice curated experience, both from our side of the curators creating the channel and the consumer actually being able to reprogram that. And I think this all comes together in this little video here, which hopefully will work. There we go. You kind of get the idea of this. So I think the one thing to take away from that video is really the more you love, the more we learn. The more we learn, the better we can predict. The better we can predict, the better the personalization that we can then deliver. So truly is creating that really awesome personalized experience down to the consumer level. So in what we believe we've created here is a way that customers, consumers, viewers always want great content that is easy to find and easy to experience. we've done, if not for Ooyala and Microsoft and the capabilities that they've provided, I don't know that we would have been able to achieve this as quickly as we've been able to achieve it. And the advances in the video indexing, and I know that there's many other companies out there that are doing video indexing type of capabilities, but it's really, this has really moved the needle over probably the last 12 months in the world of machine learning and what we can do in creating these personalized experiences. So we hope that you find this interesting and that this will truly bring a new personalized experience, whether it's for the operator, the programmer, content provider creating and curating their own channels, whether it's us developing and creating channels as we've done in our dynamic channel lineup, or it's to the consumer who wants to reprogram that channel on the fly. So with that, we'll do some Q&A.
How does advertising factor into any of this?
So today, on the dynamic channels are a subscription-based channel pack. And what we do is we do a light ad load is our plan on that. So taking some learnings from previous and history. We believe that the consumers are used to seeing advertising in a lean-back TV experience. Two is we believe if you do a light ad load, it won't annoy the consumer, and we'll still be able to monetize some of that additional revenue that's sitting out there. So moving forward, we hope to integrate some of our machine learning capabilities into how we would generate key value pairs for our ad requests. I don't know that the ad industry is quite there. We might be there before, but I think that's kind of the next phase in really targeting. Anything else? Yeah.
Obvious question that's happening with Facebook and data privacy and all that stuff. How does that impact all this learning about likes and social media?
From us using that, so in our feedback, so from a social media perspective, we have no idea who the user is. We're just out there looking at trends. So why is, a Chevy Tahoe truck trending on, Twitter? Is it?
It's not my life, it's whatever that.
Yeah, it's really a much broader audience that we're looking at from the signal input perspective. From the user input perspective, we don't even, today, we really don't, because the operator, we deploy through operators, we don't really know who that subscriber is. We just know what they look like. So when we are creating that personalized experience, we don't necessarily know who you are, your demographic, but we do know what you've been doing and what you've been liking. So hopefully we can do a better job of personalizing. So we are trying to stay out of that fray of the PII issue and so forth that we're seeing creep up across the board today. It's a good question, though. Anything else? No one? Sure.
So what's your business model?
Business model is subscription based on the channels, revenue share with the operator. I did a talk yesterday, and I actually talked about the business model. We didn't put that in today's talk, but what we believe is you've got to break the cycle of these huge minimum guarantees, of this cost per sub type of model, really need to move to a revenue share type of model. And this works with the type of content, the digital content we're working with. It may not work with the premier networks out there. And then the other piece is you've got to have co-marketing. So everybody's got to have skin in the game. Everybody needs to promote what is out there and available. So if we can provide that co-marketing piece, all the more better. And yeah, I guess that's, and then of course ad revenue, rev share on ad revenue. That's a primary business model. We can go all free, ad supported as well, if the content is good enough to support an ad-only model. And we've seen, we've seen the proliferation of the SVODs out there, right, because the ad model has not been enough to generate the returns that content providers want, the operators need.
You work with current distribution players?
Yes. Our primary customers are the TV providers, the MSOs, satellite guys, et cetera. Now it's easy for us to go to the set-top box because we've been doing this for about over 10 years now, 12 years, developing applications for set-top boxes and working with the operators as you saw in that first slide. So that's easy for us. We believe that this will transcend maybe a little bit different experience into the virtual MVPDs, but it's similar in concept. All right. Well, I guess we got
An early lunch for everyone
yeah,
today.
5 minutes early.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you all. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.